Good afternoon. As I said, my name is Georgine, and I am here to talk to you about Christmas, of course. Now, I know there is something decidedly tacky about Christmas in April. I think by the time the season's done, we're all kind of ready to be done with it. So there's something off-putting about that dead wreath on the door or that 90% off table at the center aisle in Kroger's. But something starts to happen round about late November that causes otherwise rational, sane, normal people to start to lose their fool minds. So I am here to tell you the truth about Christmas that you can only hear in April from a safe distance. I have been working with people experiencing homelessness for a very long time. And the one thing I have discovered is that the absolute worst part of homelessness, the biggest violence against the human psyche, is a loss of privacy and a loss of autonomy. Now, if you think for a moment of all the people who live outside, everything they do is in full view of the public eye. And the crimes that they're most likely to get arrested for are crimes of visibility. Public urination, open container, which is drinking in public, and loitering, which is standing, sitting, or laying down in public. Things that we do behind our walls, but become criminal when they're done in the public view. And now, I work at a family shelter, and families experience homelessness a little bit differently than people who live outside. But I can tell you that lack of privacy is still there. So think about a shelter setting. You're coming in, you're having a bad time of it, and the first thing is you learn that you have to live with 7 other families who you don't know. The second thing that happens is you sit down and you answer about 45 minutes worth of questions. Really invasive questions, too. Highest level of education completed, mental and physical health concerns, birth dates, social security numbers, and the same for all of your kids. And all of that information is entered into a database known as the Homeless Management Information System, which is a national database that tracks homeless people. Now, we don't do it to be mean. We do it to be efficient. In June of last year, 465 families called seeking shelter. And even everyone working together in the shelter system in Cincinnati, we only met the needs of 17% of those families. So we need this information so that we can make sure every dollar is spent the most efficiently and we can move people out as quickly as possible. But it is still a distinct lack of privacy. Lack of autonomy. You have people who are the heads of their households, who have children, who all of a sudden have a curfew for the first time since they've been grown up. And no matter what you're feeling like eating for dinner that night, you're going to eat what's served to you. And more than that, you develop a case plan right off the bat that outlines the steps that you need to go through to get out of homelessness. And again, none of us do it to be mean. We do it to be efficient so that we can end the tragedy of homelessness as quickly as possible for the families who are experiencing it. But we all know that with the loss of autonomy and the loss of privacy, a little bit of dignity scrapes off along the way. So we do what we can to mitigate this. We put in private spaces where families can be together and away from everybody else. We put in lockers so that all of their belongings are no longer on display. We say, work with us on your case plan. What are your goals? What do you want to do? And we try to mitigate it as much as we can. And then Christmas. Now, there's something you need to know about Christmas. I say that Christmas has become an arms race, and let me tell you what I mean by that. My mom has 9 brothers and sisters. They all live pretty much in the same hometown, so every Christmas, all the aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody gets together. Now, for the longest time, we had a truce. We just drew a name from a hat, and it was a 1-to-1 gift exchange. And then one year, somebody broke the truce, and they bought something for everybody. The next year, a couple more people bought something for everybody, and by the third year, everybody had to buy something for everybody. And I went up to my alpha aunt, and I said, hey, this is getting out of control. Why don't we just all, give donations and make a donation in honor of Grandma or something? And she looked at me and she said, Georgine, some of us love our family and want to buy them presents. But she has a point, doesn't she? In our society, presents have come to equate love. And if not love, at least a sign of respect. Christmas has become the time of year where we finally start to say thank you for the people who are in our lives. And when you get done buying for all the people who are in your inner circle, your closest family and your partner and your kids, then you start to widen out a little bit and you're like, oh, well, what about my coworkers? What about my mailman? I like him, he does a good job. Is he a $5 kind of honoree or a $25 kind of honoree? And you start to do these negotiations in your head. And God forbid somebody give you a present and you don't have a present for them, or you give them a present and they don't have one for you, and you have to squirrel that knowledge away in your head. And by the end of the season, everyone's out buying stuff and your car is full of scented candles and beef sticks, and you're like, this has gotten out of control. And so what we do is we go back home and we kick back and we watch our very special holiday episode on TV. And now, I love holiday movies, but I'm not talking about those right now. I am talking about the very special episodes, the ones where your normal characters are suddenly thrown into the Christmas spirit in some way. And I'm going to tell you about my all-time favorite very special episode. Does anyone here remember Murphy Brown? Anybody? Yes? Murphy Brown was a workplace comedy, late 80s, I want to say. And in this episode, they all formed a truce. We're rich, we don't need anything, we're just going to donate to charity and be done with it. And one person broke the truce. And so they're all scrambling to get presents for everybody, and they're down at the drugstore, which is the only place open, and they're fighting with each other, and they're buying garbage, and they come back, and they're all mad at each other, and they're just all upset. And in comes Eldon. Now, Eldon was the super cool house painter who inexplicably lived with Murphy for years. And he comes in with his overalls, and he's just like, hey, yo, because it was the late 80s, and that was cool. And he comes off the elevator, and he's like, why are y'all so stressed out? And they're like, they broke their truce. And he's like, well, I'm going to do what I do every Christmas Eve. I'm going down to the shelter to volunteer. And they all get shamefaced, and they're all like, oh, we missed the point. And they're like, I think I'm going to go down to the shelter and volunteer too. And they all walk off, and it's wonderful. And when I watched that, I was like, I'm going to be Eldon someday. I'm going to cut through all of it. It's going to be so cool. But now I'm going to let you in on a trade secret. And it's something that I've talked to a lot of other shelter directors about, and it's something some of them told me not to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The call I dread the most is not the call from the family in their car, because I know what to do with them. The call I dread the most comes from the well-meaning, very sweet person who says, hi, my kids have too much stuff. I want to teach them the true meaning of Christmas. We want to buy presents for the kids in the shelter and come down and watch them open those presents. And what I say to them is, absolutely, come on down. And in exchange for that, the kids told me they really want to watch you open your Christmas presents on Christmas morning. Is that cool? They'll just hide behind the tree. You don't have to get them anything for Christmas morning. They'll be really, really quiet. Is that okay? I don't say that. Of course I don't say that. Who would say that? I'm not a monster. But I think it. I think it every year, and I buy a donut for the first person who gets that call in my office. What happens when people want to do that? Loss of autonomy and loss of privacy. So the first truth about Christmas that you can only learn in April is that Eldon didn't just volunteer on Christmas Eve. Eldon volunteered on opening day, and Mother's Day, and Father's Day, and Independence Day, and Tuesday. If you want to feel that spirit, if you want to feel the spirit of humanity and the spirit of giving, start now. Start in April. Find the agency you connect with. Find the agency that can use your time and your talent and bond with it now. Form a relationship. Form a relationship with the agency and the people that it serves. And then maybe by the time that Christmas, starting with Black Friday, comes along, you won't feel so frazzled about it. I want to share this picture with you. This picture was colored by a little girl in our shelter last year named Rihanna. And it says, "Dear Santa, I love you so much. You are nice. My name is Rihanna. I'll always be a good girl for you." This picture is sweet, but there are a few things that trouble me about it. The first is that Rihanna has chosen to color herself as a white girl with blonde hair. And Rihanna is not a white girl with blonde hair. And she did this under the auspices of being good. But that is the subject for an entire other TEDx talk. The second thing that troubles me about this picture is that chunky guy sneaking through a sleeping child's bedroom. Now, Rihanna was born into poverty, so she's been under surveillance since the day she was born. Every time her mom buys something using her food stamps, there's somebody looking over her shoulder to make sure she's using taxpayer dollars appropriately. And every time her mom gets a new job, she goes down to Jobs and Family Services and reports it to see if there's any changes to her benefits. And every time Rihanna's ever traveled anywhere, she has done it on a bus. So she has never known the joy of singing Let It Go at the top of her lungs in the backseat with her sisters. So the fact that there is a big guy out there who has surveillance technology that the homeless management information system would envy, who knows if you're naughty or nice, who knows if you're sleeping or awake, that makes a lot of sense to Rihanna. And it doesn't bother her. And she says, "I love you so much." And what you need to know about Rihanna is that she is one of a pretty large family, lots of brothers and sisters, and her brothers and sisters are perfect. They make honor roll, they do what they're told, they're always tidy and clean and neat. But Rihanna's a little bit like I was when I was a little girl. Messy face, a little curious, a little loud. Sometimes you had to call me a few times before I heard you. Busy, she's just a busy little girl. And she doesn't hear that she's good very often. But for Santa Claus, for Santa, she's willing to be good. But what troubles me the most about this picture is what's in that box. That box that she colored her favorite color, purple. What's in that box? So I want you to think for a minute about the best present you ever got. All-time best, your Red Ryder BB gun moment. Best present. I'll tell you mine. When I was 8 years old, I came out on Christmas morning and there was a Cabbage Patch Kid under the tree. His name was Frederick Lamar, and he was glorious. He came from Santa Claus, and I knew this because my mom had convinced me that Santa didn't have time to wrap things, so it was unwrapped, and so I knew it came from him. But I realize now, it came from him with heavy influence from my mom. And I knew that Santa was subject to the same laws of supply and demand as everyone else, so I knew Santa had to throw a few elbows at the Kmart to get that Cabbage Patch Kid under that tree, but it was amazing. So now here's my true confession. When I first started working at Interfaith Hospitality Network, we had a new family coming in on December 23rd. And it was December 22nd, and we didn't have any presents for them. And I thought, I'm going to adopt one of these kids for the holidays. I'm going to go get the presents. I'm going to be the big, big savior here. And that is how I found myself at Target 2 days before Christmas. I know the subject's conflict and violence, so maybe someone's going to talk about that later. But Target 2 days before Christmas, bad scene. And I don't know if any of you have ever purchased clothing for kids, but you need like a full Excel worksheet to figure that out, because it starts out with time, like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and then it moves into a mysterious T category, and then there's a 6X, and then it's small, medium, and large, and it's very complicated. So I am the super creep of Target walking around going, hey, you there, you have a kid. How old is your kid? What size do they wear? Because the only thing I knew about this girl that I was buying a present for was her age. And then I get to the clothing section and I'm like, does she like pink, purple, or blue? Is she a Dora kid, a princess kid, a Spider-Man kid? Does she run skinny? Does she run squat? I don't know this kid. So what's in the box? An outfit that doesn't fit and is the wrong color and is all off? Or Frederick Lamar, the glorious Cabbage Patch Kid? So here is the other truth about Christmas. Get together with the people who you are closest with and find a creative way to raise money. Make it your own tradition. Do something that's special to you. Start now. Start in April. Gather that money together. Come Black Friday, pull it out. Count it together as a family. Turn to the smallest, youngest kid in your family and say, what is your favorite store? Trust them. Go to that store and purchase a gift card. And put that gift card in the mail to the agency that you've been building a relationship with. And when you do that, you are saying to the mom or the dad who gets it, I trust you. I trust you to know what to put in the box for your kid. I trust you so much, I don't need a receipt and I don't need to see it. This Christmas, enjoy some autonomy and enjoy some privacy for just one day, because I trust you. And as you gather with your family and you celebrate in whatever way you celebrate, talk about that family whose name you don't know. Talk about them. Think about them. Light a candle for them. Say a prayer. And know that next Christmas, they're not going to be homeless anymore. And when Rihanna and all the little boys and girls like Rihanna look back on this Christmas, they won't remember it as the Christmas when they were embarrassed or scared or homeless. They'll remember it as the Christmas when they were so good, that Santa Claus found them anyway. God bless y'all, everyone.